Lindsey Snyder. I wrote Pinky the Monster. It's a series about a monster that is in the village and he doesn't want to play with children until he realizes that we're all unique in different ways and we all have something special to share. Pinky the Monster and Ellie is new to the village, but she has autism. Although it doesn't say that explicitly in the book, it just shows characteristics of somebody with autism and how the children thought she was kind of different and weird at first, but then they realized that she has got a lot of unique gifts to share with everyone. So I'm a special ed teacher. I've been, working with special needs for 20 years, but my aunt also has severe autism. And then my daughter has ADHD, as do I. So I just really wanted to write something that spoke to people with a lot of different needs. And Pinky was my imaginary friend when I was little. So I actually did write it a long time ago, originally. I wrote it back in 2009, I think. And then I just let it sit there and then finally I put it out there. So it's fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. And it's kind of interesting how the ideas just kind of flow. And then I just quickly write it down, and all of a sudden there's another book idea. So that's been fun. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. I was on the news. I was on the news stories, but I'm in the San Diego Voyage magazine as an up and coming author as well. I had people on LinkedIn who read it and were like, wow, finally somebody who like is communicating it in an appropriate way. For instance, a lot of people call, neurodivergent kids and then normal kids, but it's really you call them typical. We don't call somebody normal and then not normal. So that just, I think somebody noticed that I was using the correct language, person first and not their disability. So I have followed the artist's way for decades. So I've always done my morning pages, but I'm not necessarily saying that's where these came from. That is just a routine practice of mine. But a lot of times I'll be walking in nature. That's when I get a lot of my inspiration. If I'm not connected to, my phone or listening to a podcast and I'm just out there walking, all of a sudden something pops in and that's when I do get on my phone. I quickly start jotting everything down on notes. So, or running home to write it down. I think a lot of the kids and the characters in the original book, were after her. And she's definitely my thought process. And some of the other books that I haven't published yet, but that I've written, definitely she's tied into those as well. I have a few more, so I just have to do illustrations for the other couple of the Pinky, but then I also have one about a different animal. It's a penguin, and then I have one with a horse. Yeah, I definitely think there's connective tissue. Sometimes it is just an idea that pops in, but a lot of times the characters definitely remind me of my daughter. I'm just not using her name or my students, that sort of thing. But I would just say do it because, like I said, I held on to that book for a long time before I just finally did it. And I'm so glad I did because even if it doesn't, make it or make money, that's not the point. And it's just been really awesome to have it out there and to share. Yeah, I definitely keep going back to just finding people's uniqueness that we all have special gifts. That's definitely a theme. And then kind of speaking up for people who don't really have a voice, you know, people with, obviously like autism who might not be verbal, or even if they are, just are considered hopefully not as much, but less than, by society, or they don't have the same types of abilities and, uh, they're just seen different basically. So I like to write towards that. I also had a lot of trauma as a kid, and my escape was reading. So I think I liked reading and writing for those reasons as being able to escape into something else. I would reread over and over Whimsy the Talking Pony and Charlotte's Web So maybe that's why I write all the books that have to do with animals and whimsical things, because that got me out of thinking about all the other stuff. Because the morning pages definitely, I do a gratitude journal as well every day. So I write all the things I can think of that I'm grateful for, and I've been doing that forever, probably at least a decade, if not longer. So and I just have other rituals like I run every day. I eat very healthy, and then I do yoga and I also teach yoga. So that's one of my other jobs is I'm a yoga instructor. I'm certified. And I'm also a Reiki master, so I do Reiki energy healing as well. You can go through a lot of different experiences, but still, not just even survive, but thrive. And here are some of my practices, kind of a thing. Because everybody has to find what works for them. My daughter does not want to have anything to do with journaling, but it's just finding whatever, for her, it's drawing. So just whatever works. I love to sing and I write, but I haven't put composed necessarily anything, but I feel like a lot of my poetry could definitely be turned into music. And I'm working on that right now with a friend who used to be in a pretty big band. So I'm hoping he can help me with that. But I used to play piano and guitar. In fact, I'm surrounded by three or four of them in this room. So I just need to start picking that up again. But I work three jobs, so it's a little hard because teaching doesn't pay very much. So exactly. And that's, I think, what I would tell people who are like, what do I do? Just do it. Because I mean, I have three jobs. I don't really have the time, but it was so worth it. And I'm glad that I still made that time. I get up at 3:45, so.